You said at a town hall recently that we're being governed by morons. Can you explain why you're so correct?
Well, I said, we're being governed by morons here. And I said that because they know that what they're telling people is a lie. His speechwriters know that's a lie, but they give it to Donald Trump and he just repeats it. I don't even know what he knows. It is moronic for them to be spreading that kind of propaganda and disinformation. So the story was, I brought with me to the State of the Union joint session Dr. Lauren McGee, a constituent of mine who's a child cancer specialist. She was promoted to be the chief biologist in her unit, but she got fired on February 14th with all of these other, more than 100,000 federal workers. But anyway, Trump says, we saved you $8.5 million last year that was being spent at NIH on creating transgender mice. $8.5 million creating transgender mice. Why would you do that? Well, my guest directs me to a newspaper article debunking this disinformation. $8.5 million was spent on creating transgenic mice. That is, mice that have been injected with DNA for the purposes of doing scientific experimentation so we can solve asthma and Alzheimer's disease and breast cancer and colon cancer and HIV/AIDS. Yes. Trump starts off by saying that one of his key priorities is to wipe out childhood cancer. Right. And my guest is a living, breathing contradiction to that lie. But then he goes on to say, I'm going to tell you all of the money that we've saved for you in Doge. Elon Musk hasn't saved us $91. He's collected $38 billion in his own government contracts, and then he's snatched up billions of dollars more.
If you could speak to Donald Trump directly, if you could say something to him, what would you tell him?
Oh, well, there's so many things, but one thing I would start with is he's talking about creating a fund for the families of the January 6th victims. But he's referring to the rioters and the insurrectionists who attacked our police officers. So if there's going to be a fund, Mr. Trump, that fund should be for more than 140 officers and their families who were wounded, injured, hospitalized, who had heart attacks and strokes, who lost parts of their fingers on that day. And not for the rioters, and not for the insurrectionists, not the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Why don't we start with that?
To get personal a little bit, I went to American University. I met my wife there. I went to Washington College of Law. I know you taught there 25 years. I know that you're deeply passionate about the Constitution. How does it make you feel seeing a president of the United States so easily trample the document?
I mean, first of all, in like a personal existential sense, I get to wake up every day and go and fight for everything I believe in, being part of a movement that's a mass nationwide movement that is defending democracy and freedom. And the silver lining in a period like this is that we're not taking anything for granted. We're not taking the rule of law for granted, the Constitution, democracy, our freedom. Certainly tens of millions of women caught behind red state lines who don't have access to reproductive rights. They're not taking their freedom for granted. They're fighting for their freedom. And we've all got to remember their situation, and we got to be fighting for their freedom. So, that's the spirit with which I come to this. But obviously, there are whole parts of the Constitution that are being crushed by Donald Trump, and we need to strengthen and improve our Constitution. When we say, we're going out to save democracy or defend democracy, it's a little bit deceptive, because democracy is not just a static collection of institutions or practices. Democracy is always an unfinished project. It's something in motion, right? We got millions of disenfranchised people in America, including 713,000 who live in the capital city, right? And they didn't come down here and beat the hell out of our police officers and try to storm the Capitol, but they have petitioned for statehood. And so we need statehood for people in Washington. We need statehood for people in Puerto Rico. We need a constitutional amendment guaranteeing the right to vote. We've got to put an end to all of the voter suppression tactics that the Republicans have perfected across the country. We've got to make it easy, not hard, for people to register to vote, to get involved. That's what democracy is. I have tons of students wherever I go. And I love this work and I love my job and I'm completely devoted to it. And I'm going to see this through. My plan is I'm not going anywhere until we get rid of Donald Trump and Trumpism and authoritarianism in the country. And then maybe one day I'll go back to teaching someplace or doing something different. I don't know what I'll do, but uh, when I meet my constituents, I feel very proud of representing people who are so devoted to American democracy and freedom. And, I've been all over the country going to these Republican districts to conduct town halls, and my constituents are very supportive of that, you know. So I'm working hard to defend all of the federal workers in my district. I have 55,000 of them, and I estimate somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 have lost their jobs now, and we're working to turn that around. So we're in the middle of this fight, and I don't want to go anywhere until we finish it.
Can you tell us about your tariff bill and why it's so important?
The Truth in Tariffs Act just says that if you're selling a car for $20,000, but you have to add 4,000 or 5,000, whatever it is for a tariff, you advertise this is a $20,000 car plus 4,000 for the tariff for a total cost of 24,000. I mean, and this is basically what we do with taxes. When you go out to a restaurant, you order your food, you can look and see everything. Congress, under Article 1 of the Constitution, has the power to regulate commerce internally in the country, but also with foreign states. So Congress sets tariffs, not the president. Now, he's purporting to do it under the authority of IEEPA, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. It doesn't mention tariffs. It's never been used for tariffs before, but he thinks he's got the power to do it. What's the emergency? Well, he said the emergency is this has been going on for decades, and I'm going to be the one who's going to solve it. Well, that doesn't sound like much of an emergency that's been going on for decades. There should be honesty and transparency in pricing, and his tariff is like a nationwide sales tax.
Donald Trump is poised to accept a $400 million plane from Qatar. As a constitutional scholar, what's your response to that?
Well, I mean, he can't accept a $400 plane, much less a $400 million plane. The Constitution establishes a very clear rule, which is that nobody who occupies any office, federal office of profit or trust, including the President of the United States, shall receive without the consent of Congress a present, this is one, an emolument, which is a payment in office or title of any kind whatever from a foreign king, prince, or government. Well, Qatar is a foreign government. It's a monarchical government. And they want to give him a $400 million gift. Apparently, he's been hankering after one of their palaces in the sky jets, and it's clearly for his use. And then it's going to go to his museum library afterwards, where he'll be able to continue to use it. So it's just a blatant violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause. The framers of the Constitution did not want elected officials who serve only the people of America to be indebted to foreign states, at least without congressional consent.
Right. Well,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, he can come to Congress and ask for it. Congress has permitted in certain very discrete instances certain foreign government gifts, but usually not. Abraham Lincoln, Honest Abe, came to Congress in 1862 during the Civil War. He said, "The King of Siam gave me this beautiful elephant tusk. Can I keep it?" And he knew what the Constitution's position was on this, which is you can't keep it unless you go to Congress. And he said, "Can we keep it?" And Congress said, "Abe, you're doing a great job in the Civil War. We love you, but no, you can't keep it. Give it back to the Department of Interior."
Totally. And you hear former presidents following these rules all the time, like President Obama and President Biden. So
I mean, Obama returned $1 million that he was getting with the Nobel Peace Prize, and he didn't even have to because that wasn't a government gift. It was private, but he said he didn't like the looks of it. President Kennedy refused to declined to accept honorary citizenship in Ireland, although he loved Ireland, of course, and it meant a lot to him, but he said he wouldn't do it. Trump won't even come to Congress. Come to Congress. If you think it's fine, if you think it's not riddled with bugs and surveillance, and you don't think it's a national security risk, come and explain why. But let Congress decide all of the myriad of ethical, moral, political, national security issues that are embedded in this.
Apparently, there was some talk that the DOJ was trying to make it so that Donald Trump could take the plane and then bring it to his library.
Okay, first of all, the library doesn't exist. Okay, it's not for real, and the library is something that's run by the government. It's a museum where you can raise private funds for it. But how does that make it any better? If I say, if you make me look good in this podcast, I'm going to give you a $400 million airplane. But after you use it for the next 4 years, then you've got to put it into your personal library. I mean, it's just meaningless. All of it is for your benefit. And that's completely clear. And Trump said yesterday that he's not the kind of person to pass up an offer like this. He said it's like if somebody offers you a putt, you pick up the ball and you take the putt, right? So they offered him a $400 million plane. He's not going to look over his shoulder at the U.S. Constitution. He doesn't care about that. He's going to pick up the plane and then jet off to the next autocracy in the Middle East where he can collect some more loot. I mean, his son-in-law got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, $2 billion that he brought back to set up his new business, despite the fact that the Saudi Sovereign National Fund Board of Directors recommended unanimously against it. But, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia feels very indebted to Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump is there today with beautiful praise of MBS in Saudi Arabia. Do you believe he's there for American interests, or do you think he's there for himself?
I mean, I don't think he distinguishes between the two in any way. What gets him rich, what makes him and his family wealthy is what he thinks is in the national interest. Meantime, they want to cut $880 billion out of Medicaid or other social expenditures that actually help the American people. They're dismantling federal government agency after agency, the Agency for International Development. They're trying to attack the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, NIH, the National Institutes for Health, the Food and Drug Administration, you name it. The agencies that actually serve the American people, they are attacking. And more than 150,000 federal workers, air traffic controllers, food and drug inspectors, cancer researchers have lost their jobs under this reign of terror. Now, the good news is the courts are standing up, and we have more than 155 federal injunctions and temporary restraining orders against this reign of lawlessness. But he's jetting around the world just collecting money for him and his family while they're attacking the government that actually serves the people. And that's the scandal of, this period of time.